Today we want to have a closer look at the Adamastor Furia. My friend Afonso, who is from Portugal and a motorsport engineer in the UK, will present this first Portuguese supercar to you. He visited the company in Portugal and had a chat with the founder. For more information, you'll find Afonso's contact details below.
Hey everyone, my name is Afonso, and the car I'm bringing you today is the Adamastor Furia. But before I really get into the car, I want to introduce Adamastor, the brand, and how this project came about. Adamastor was born in 2010 and launched their first car in 2018, the P003RL. Although this car didn't have any impressive specs, it was the proof that Adamastor had the capabilities to build a supercar in-house. So in the following years, the company grew, having now 14 members responsible for designing and building the Adamastor Furia in their headquarters in Portugal. One of the most impressive aspects about this project is how they made strong efforts to develop and make their whole car in-house, including making their tooling to make the car, such as autoclaves, freezers, CNC machines, and 3D printers. Interestingly, although they're still far from it, their ultimate goal is to get to Le Mans as a GT car manufacturer. So, about the car. Adamastor Furia was revealed in May of last year with a price of 1.6 million euros and was presented as the first Portuguese supercar. With a carbon fiber monocoque, which is currently being homologated, its dry weight is 1100 kilograms. Although it was envisioned to be a GT car with only 350 horsepower, they soon changed the plans and decided to make a supercar with a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 from Ford Performance, capable of more than 650 horsepower at 5500 rpm, and a maximum torque of 571 Newton meters at 2500 rpm. Although the car is still being developed around the tracks and airfields around Portugal, they've shared that the car will surpass the 300 km per hour of maximum velocity. In terms of the acceleration, the car will be able to do a 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds and a 0 to 200 in 10.2 seconds. They've also shared that the car will be able to produce 1000 and 1900 kilograms of downforce at 250 kilometers per hour for the road and track version respectively. This is equivalent to 3.2 and 6.3 CLA. These values are quite impressive, since a F1 car normally achieves a CLA of 6, and GT3 cars like the 911 GT3 RS only achieve around 2.1. Although some of these numbers might not be that impressive, like the top speed, it is clear that this car is focused for track and really aerodynamically optimized. Its similarities to the Valkyrie are quite obvious, but nevertheless the Valkyrie is able to produce a higher CLA. I will be leaving the car dimensions and other specs on the screen, as there are quite a lot to go through, but the main key takes is that the car is a two-seater with a pushrod system, 18-inch wheels, and AP racing brakes, 6-piston aluminum on the front and 4-piston on the back. The suspension used for this car has been quite a discussed topic, even getting its own patent. The same concept is used on the front and rear, and it's based on the decoupled system. The usual decoupled system is normally used on a T or U shape with 2 roll springs on the side and then 1 heave spring in the center. This configuration is not too optimal for race cars or supercars due to the size of it. A solution for this is what we saw on the AMG1 suspension. They use 1 extra roll spring attached to the center rod on one side and encapsulated by a metal frame on the other. In a normal condition, the system works compressing the roll spring, and when the rockers are pulling away, the rod end and the case compress against each other, compressing the second spring. Adamastor's idea employs a similar mechanism, but is able to achieve it with only 1 spring. In this system there are 2 outer brackets, each attached to a pair of rods and also attached to the rockers, and 2 inner brackets slidably attached to the pair of rods and connected to the opposite outer bracket. So when a normal compression happens, the outer brackets push on the same side inner bracket, compressing the center, while the rods slide through the opposite side. When the rockers and outer brackets are pulling away, then the rods pull the inner brackets on the other side towards the center, making a compression again. This means that the suspension is much easier to tune, since there is only 1 spring and 1 stiffness, and that the behavior will be symmetrical. The other aspect is that both the roll and heave axes are in the same X location. Usually there is a bit of space between both axes in the X direction, which doesn't happen here. This goes along with one of the goals of this car, of having a tight packaging. To respect regulations for GT and Endurance Championships, no electronic or hydraulic systems are used with this suspension. Now moving to the aerodynamic design of the car. we can see a one-element front wing, which doesn't extend outwards of the inner tire face like the Valkyrie, or that doesn't extend forward of the body for road legality. The narrower wing allows the body of the car to cover the wheel, like other supercars do, reducing the drag. On the outward of the front wing, the angle of attack is increased, so on the center there is more air going to the underfloor, and on the side there is higher downforce being generated. Another clear difference in comparison to the Valkyrie are the top wings, which resemble a profile shape, helping to generate more front load. This feature reminds me more of what the Praga has on their car. One feature that I don't remember seeing before is that inside wall footplate reaching under the front wing, which is being used to outwash the tire squirt behind the wheel. This is achieved by having the flow coming inwards on the bottom end and rolling around the feature, creating a downwashing vortex that pushes against the floor, helping outwash the tire squirt. Two canards were added on each side, contributing for the front downforce and also helping dissipate tire losses. In terms of the inlets, the center front one is for driver cooling, while the side is divided into two ducts, one for brake cooling and the other used as an air curtain outwashing in front of the wheel. One feature that hasn't been seen in any photos is the duct on the underfloor, below the driver legs, used for engine bay cooling. This duct is taking advantage of a downwashing inclined section, which creates a local high pressure, meaning it is not only helping with cooling, but also reducing the lift from that section. Although the car looks like an open wheeler, the inside of the wheel arch is closed, as having it open would probably reduce the cooling performance on the coke-line ducts and reduce the rear wing performance, since it's so close to the body. From the side, it is possible to see some common hypercar solutions, like the louvers, which help lead off some high pressure on the wheel. A 3-element barge board is also used to guide the flow outwards, away from the radiators, and so it doesn't get ingested by the floor further along the car. The coke line is guiding air to the ducts near the rear wheel, which are being used for the radiator and intercooler. The current configuration is one on each side, but that will soon change to optimize the path from the turbos to the intercoolers. The duct on the top surface in front of the rear tire is being used for brake cooling. On top of the car, rearwards of the cockpit, there is a slot-shaped duct for the engine inlet, which, interestingly, doesn't follow the common location of these ducts, which usually extends a bit more forward and are usually raised above the surface of the car, having in mind the boundary layer losses. At the rear of the car we have a massive diffuser, and it is clear that the diffuser is taking advantage of the tight packaging on the whole engine bay to produce the highest downforce possible. On the side there are again barge boards for outwashing, and a curled footplate to prevent tire squirt losses from entering the diffuser. The ducktail body shape on top of the diffuser and the rear wing are really close to the diffuser, meaning that they are probably interacting to create a strong upwashing flow, generating more downforce. Some thoughts on the whole concept and possible developments to be announced could be an active or passive system to bleed off some downforce. This is used to be able to achieve greater speeds due to drag associated with downforce and also to manage tire wear. If not, special tires might need to be considered to deal with such loads. The massive diffuser can also mean that the total downforce is highly dependent on its ability to work, which means that there are considerations to have on the porpoising. Having cooling inlets so low and ducts that go so inward could also be a potential issue, since the breeze could get in and get stuck on those ducts, blocking the radiators and intercoolers. Although I'm pointing out these really specific situations, it is really cool to have a car that is super track focused that can also be used on roads. The values that were shared for downforce, the whole body, and the suspension, it really shows that it's a track-focused car and that is now converted to road use. I've also been told that there will be 2 different size wheels for the road and track version, and that there won't be any design changes between the 2 models, which means that the difference in CLA from both models is purely from ride height. I also want to thank Frederico, one of the founders and engineers at Adamastor. I was able to interview him and get a bit more information on the car and the project, so many thanks for that. And thanks to Martin for giving me the platform to try these videos again. And if you want to reach out with any questions, or if you need any links from what I shared, the suspension patent or something like that, you have my LinkedIn below. Just reach out. Thanks.
Thanks, Afonso, for this deep dive into the new Adamastor Furia. And I have a few words from my side. So the Furia looks very similar to the Valkyrie and also produces huge amounts of downforce, which is why they came up with the F1 style suspension design. From a business point of view, it is clear that the new company needs to earn money as soon as possible after developing such a car. But if we look at the numbers, we have to say that 1.6 million euro is a lot of money. The people who can afford such a car usually want to use it kind of in their daily life or do road trips with it. And as I always say, also have to convince the wife to use this car for it. And people are already struggling with the Valkyrie in this point because it's too extreme. For people who want to have fun on the track, 1.6 million is a bit too much. And if we compare it to a few other cars, we can see that I can get a used McLaren 720S for 200,000 euro and it's a lot quicker on 200 km per hour. A Radical XRC 600 uses the same engine and a tube frame, has the same weight, same power and costs 250,000 euro, but produces less downforce. So anyway, it's great to see a new exciting non-hybrid supercar from Portugal, and let me know what you think about it in the comments below.